everybody, welcome to another episode of Watch Once Over. My name is Big E. Today we're going to be discussing thick watches, not necessarily big watches, but thick watches. And we're going to do this as a reference point, my Casio Hydromod. This watch is 42 millimeters wide, and it's just about 12 millimeters thick. I'll put the calipers on it to make sure. $12 millimeters, about 42. So, using this as a reference point to these monsters of the deep, these leviathans, these gargantuan watches, we're going to look at why people buy these watches. And I think they buy them because they get a lot of attention. Now, recently, in the last couple weeks, I've been wearing these big watches and my own big watch, which is my Seiko Spring Drive Tuna. Now, let's look at the Spring Drive Tuna. This is not a small watch by any means. 50 mil, 17 mil thick. So this watch right here, by a lot of people's standards, is already way too big. But it has a lugless design, and I love it. It's my everyday watch, and it's not too big for me, and it really doesn't get in the way. And if you compare this 50 mil to a 42 mil, you really don't get that much of a difference, because this has a conical case and it's thicker at the base than it is at the top. So it gives you an optical illusion that the watch isn't as big as it is. But these watches don't give an optical illusion. They're big watches. So let's keep in mind, this is a 42, this is a 50, and let's go up from there. Now, looking like what the smallest one is these three are Hydromax Invictus. Everybody knows Invictus are big, and this one right here is an Acrebis. Now, I just want to say there's some other thick watches that are out there on the market. Spinnaker makes one that's very similar to this with a titanium case. You got Hublot with the Big Bang 4000. You got Graham makes some very large watches just as big as these. You got Zenith. They make some really big, thick watches. You got Helson. Helson makes watches just as thick as these, and they're really big. And you also got UTS with a monster, and I'll put some pictures up. Oh, and Panerai makes a watch bigger than all of these, which is a 60 mil. Everybody knows about that. And I'll put pictures up of those watches and of those big watches, so you can get a comparison of how big they are, especially that Panerai 60 mil. So let's go with the smallest one. And now this watch, I happen to like the way it looks. I happen to like the way it fits. It's a GMT quartz watch, and it has this rose gold case with these plastic inserts right here and on top and on the other side. And this watch is visually striking. I like the way it looks. But one of the things that make this particular Invicta fit so well is because it has this rubber strap, which is silicone rubber, and it has an extremely curved case. If you're looking at the case, now let's compare that to this Hydromax, same series. It's rather flat. But this watch right here, and I'll put it on and I'll show you, it's really comfortable to be a big watch. And the way that curves on the wrist, it's actually really, really comfortable. And I'm thinking about purchasing this watch because I like it so much. And I think it looks good. A lot of people don't like Invictas, but hey, I'm sure a lot of people will like this video because we have a lot of Invicta lovers out here. and a lot of big guys that, quite frankly, 38, 39, 40 mil, 41, 42 look rather ridiculous on the arm of a Shaquille O'Neal type person. Remember, my wrist is over 7.25 inches in this video. Now, here's a 50 mil, my Marine Master. Take a look at that on my wrist. Doesn't really look ridiculous at all in my opinion. I could be wrong. In somebody else's opinion, it might be too big. A lot of people feel the Marine Master spring drive is just a Goliath, but I like it. It's still in my sweet spot of watches that I buy and wear. Now let's do some quick measurements on this one. This watch is 51 and 16, so it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And the lug to lug is, just in case anybody wondered, the lug to lug on here is 58, but the lug to lug that's going to be contacting your wrist, you see that? It's 47. That's why this fits so well, because it has such a arc and curvature that the lug to lug is right here, but the contact point's right here, which is only 48, making this an extremely wearable watch. Now the next one, this one's automatic, and it's powered by an NH35 with a display back. A lot of Invicta automatics use this movement, and it's a rock solid Seiko movement, TMI, and you can't go wrong with this movement. This one has a beautiful sunburst dial, a really nice two-tone chrome and black bezel with red accents, and a beautiful blue sunburst dial. I really like this watch the way it looks. Let's try this one on. And this also fits okay with my wrist. And I say you can go down to a 7-inch wrist with this Invicta and be okay, because it really does fit on my wrist okay, and it's really comfortable. Now, some of these Invictas, the bracelets don't taper down, give it a real good purchase on your wrist, making it really comfortable. Now let's take some quick measurements of this one. This one is just about 50, 17.6 millimeters thick. So this one's actually a little bit bigger than this one. That's another one. Now these two gargantuans, these two leviathans of the deep, now these are really, any way you slice it, there's the big watches. Now this Akribis is going to be a little bit more high quality. They're both 1,000-meter dive watches. They both have helium escape valves, and they're both really thick. Now let's do a measurement on the Hydra-Max. And this Hydra-Max, by the way, doesn't have the top hat crystal. This was a newer one. The older ones are even thicker. This Hydra-Max is coming in at 52, 24 millimeters thick, and the lug to lug is 64. So that's going to be a really, really large watch. And let's try it on. That's big. Any way you slice it, it's big. One of the things that makes this Hydra-Max wear so big, and it has a beautiful anti-reflective crystal, and this is a GMT quartz. And all these watches I'll do a separate review on. one of the things that make this wear so big is because it doesn't have too much curvature to the case. It's almost just a straight slab of metal, and it actually kind of feels like that on your wrist. Very imposing. If you have a big blocky wrist, it probably could be comfortable, but on my 7.25 inch wrist, it's not all that comfortable, and it's extremely heavy. And we'll put some measurement on here and show you how heavy they are fitted to my wrists. Now the Akribis 1000 meter watch, this is a really unique watch. It's really like the Spinnaker, same case design, and this watch has a lot more quality than the Invictus, I must say. It has really nice brushing, helium escape valve. It has a really high dome mineral crystal, if you can see that. And this is even thicker than the Hydromax, but the case isn't as big. Let's look at the case. Case on here is 47, and the thickness is thicker than the Hydromax. It's just about 26 and a half. Then the lug is 57, so it's not as big as the Hydromax. And this watch fits a lot, wears a lot better because the curvature and the downturn lugs. And I'll try this on. Now this watch has a much more substantial bracelet than the Invictus, with all the solid link construction, milled clasp, and it also has a real nice milled diverge extension. So all the watches out of the Invictus, this Akribis is a little bit more quality, and I do suggest getting this because it's actually pretty comfortable for a big watch, and it's unique. Get a lot of compliments on this when I was wearing it. Everybody asks, what kind of watch is that? So even though it's big and it's heavy, it's balanced because it has a solid bracelet, and it actually wears pretty nice. Now, the reason why I think these watches are so popular is because people, not just being only big people, everybody's not small, that people like attention. And these watches get a lot of attention. Out of any watches that I wear, these Invictus and this Akribis get the most questions and the most people saying, what kind of watch is that? Wow, that's a nice watch. Where can I get one? It's really strange, and contrary to the belief of everybody hates Invictus, there's a lot of people who love these Invictus and these big watches. Me, this is about as big as I'll go. My Marine Master 50. And it's a big watch, but what's cutting the weight down on this is this titanium. So that's a big deal. These watches aren't titanium, these watches are steel. But so all in all, if you like big watches, if you're a big guy, if you don't mind this brand Invicta or this Akribis, these watches could be for you. So tell me what you guys think of big watches. Are they too big? Or maybe not even big enough? Let's look at it. Let's look at this Invicta compared to this. Look at this. That's crazy. That is a monster right there. Let me get the scale out. We'll do some quick weight measurements. See the Seikos here, this is going to be in grams. Seikos 184 grams, fitted on a strap coat bracelet to my wrist. The Casio 40 grams. This Hydromax with the rubber strap is 156 grams. This HydroMax with the steel bracelet automatic, 252 grams. This Acrebis, 315 grams. It's one of the biggest watches I've ever had on the channel. And then you have the HydroMax, which isn't even the biggest Invicta you can purchase. That's coming in at 330 grams. That's a big, big, big watch. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all these watches on a separate video, and you guys tell me what you think about them. And I'll put some other watches up, big watches, and you can tell me or leave a comment on what big watches that you like. Do you know of any other Leviathans out there? Or watches people wouldn't even believe that are real. So, well, anyway, that's what I got for you today. I'll have separate videos on these watches also. These ones are already done. You can check back in my older videos. I'll put a link in to these watches, and you can check that out. But anyway, my name is Big E. That's Watch Once Over, and I'll give these other four the once over whenever I put some new videos up. So I'll talk to you guys later. God bless. I hope you guys are all staying healthy and don't catch this coronavirus stuff. My name is Big E. I'll talk to you later. God bless, and please subscribe.